A grassroots revolution is building steam among concerned Americans. Fueled by frustration over deficit spending in Washington, government-run health care, and the prospect of the largest tax increase in history, American voters are letting their voices be heard. David Barton, founder of Wall Builders, seeks to harness this energy. His national pro-family organization is determined to restore the country's moral and constitutional heritage and hold lawmakers accountable. Now the author and historian is calling on concerned Americans to take action. On August 28th, he's joining forces with Glenn Beck and Sarah Palin at the Lincoln Memorial in Washington, D.C. for a Restoring Honor event. He says it's a time to celebrate America and the people and principles that God has raised up to make her great.
Well, it's a pleasure to welcome back to the 700 Club a dear friend, David Barton, who is probably the leading historian about the intention of our founders. David, it's so good to see you again.
Thanks, Pat. Good to be back, brother.
How have we missed it? What have we done in this country in the last 50, 60 years to depart from the founders?
We have done several things. One is we stopped talking about them. Then after we stopped talking about them, we forgot about them, and therefore we then replaced what we used to know with new stuff that says, oh, the founders weren't that great. They were atheists, they were agnostic, they were immoral. So it took about a 60-year span to get us completely turned in the opposite direction.
I was in a debate up at Yale Law School with one of their leading professors, and he was talking about George Washington, and he was just 100% wrong. And I had the documents from Washington. I said, I hate to differ with this learned professor, but here's what George Washington said. 1, 2, 3.
Yeah. Today, academics have got into what they call peer review. They all read each other, and nobody reads the originals anymore. And so having the originals really does mess up a good debate for those guys.
Well, what's this thing you've got going in Washington? It sounds interesting.
Restoring honor. It's a real emphasis to say, hey, we got a lot of political problems, we got a lot of problems economically, but the solution to those problems still rest in God. It rests in the character that comes from God. And so Proverbs and 1 Samuel and 1 Chronicles, so many places talk about honor coming from God, and we need to restore honor. We need it in economics. We need the honor back in our leaders, in our government, and what happens in politics. We need it back in citizens. So it's a huge spiritual event. I mean, literally, there will be tens and hundreds of thousands there for that event. And the night before, we actually have the Kennedy Center, and it'll be a full-fledged kind of revival at the Kennedy Center on 8/27. So 8/28 is Restoring Honor Rally, and 8/27 is Divine Destiny at the Kennedy Center.
What should happen to Congress? Those people seem to be out of control. There's no control over the Congress.
Well, that goes back to the people. We the people. Any given election, in recent elections, 50% of people cast their vote on the basis of 30-second TV commercials. We have to get back to being educated citizens. We have to be informed. We have to be statesmen ourselves. John Adams said, we, the citizens, have to be statesmen if we're going to hold our statesmen accountable. And that's what it takes, is we have to get back into these issues. It's going to be more than just vote once every 2 years. We've got to study the issues.
People say, well, you got to go and vote. Well, I'm going to vote, and I voted. I got a little badge on here that says I voted. But many people don't even have a clue. They don't know the names of the people they're voting for. They get in the voting booth.
Right now, of all those who have graduated from high school, 49% of Americans cannot name the 3 branches of government. 40% of Americans don't know what the free enterprise system is, and 40% of Americans have no clue that profit is income minus expenses. Now, we're the ones choosing leaders, and we don't even know the branches of government. So how do you get separation of powers and hold them accountable?
Tell me, 49, now let's get it again, 49% of high school graduates?
Of those who have graduated from high school, of all of our citizens,
can't name the 3
branches of government. Only 5% can name a cabinet, can name 3 cabinet-level departments. So how do you hold your government accountable if you don't even know who's running your government? You don't know what the branches are. You don't know enough about the free enterprise system to be able to say to your congressman, I want it preserved.
Well, it's a sitting duck for charlatans to take over.
And that's why the emphasis has to be back on we, the citizens, have to get back to the foundational principles. We've got to restore honor. We've got to get back to the Constitution, the Declaration. We have to lay those foundations again.
What do you read in the Constitution about this whole idea of a welfare state where the government is paying people? Over 50% of the American people get something from Washington. So, in a sense, they're being bribed to vote in that direction.
Yeah, historically, that's always been a losing proposition.
Yeah.
It was proven first here in Virginia, back with your settlement, and your governor, John Smith, said, no, we don't do this. And then the Pilgrims agreed with that, and the Founding Fathers showed that time after time. You cannot survive if you continue on that path. And that's the path you have to get off of, and Scriptures are very clear about that as well.
What do people do? Seriously, I mean, what do you think? I mean, we've got an election coming up, but we'll still keep the same guy in the White House, and we may have a shift in Congress, but it looks like most parties have sort of bought into this massive Keynesian welfare state.
Well, a lot have, but the problem we have is we still have such low voter turnout among Christians. We're looking only at about 1 out of every 3 Christians voting in a non-presidential election. And so Christians who have those common sense core values of hard work and integrity, they got to get out of the church and get back into the civil arena and start being leaders, running for office themselves, investigating that. We can do this real easily. In every polling we have, our values are still strong in America, but it's those people that don't go vote. It's the value people that don't vote.
Do you think this Tea Party has any legs to it?
Well, I think it does, because I think it's a very disconnected unit. If it was a movement, I think it'd be in trouble. But the fact that it's an uprising of citizens and they all have common feeling. I got a Facebook message where a guy said, hey, we're on a group and there's 11,000 of us that committed to read 1 Federalist paper a day. You can't be in the group. So 11,000 citizens reading the Federalist papers, that's good stuff. So that's what I see with Tea Parties, is they're not just issue-oriented, they're trying to educate themselves on the country and the Constitution and character, and that's good.
Well, let's review again this meeting that's going to come up in this month, just a couple of weeks from now. When's he going to be? And at the Lincoln Memorial. At
the Lincoln Memorial, and this is the commemoration of when Martin Luther King did his famous speech.
Okay.
Let's have it. We don't want the color of our skin, we want the content of our character. And that's what we're back to, is restoring that same kind of honor. So it's at the Lincoln Memorial on Saturday, August the 28th. And the 27th, the night before, at the Kennedy Center for a revival meeting called Divine Destiny.
Everybody welcome, no fee.
No fee, everybody's welcome, and we hope everybody shows up. And we really encourage ministers to be here, especially that Friday night event is designed especially for ministers. So we hope ministers and faith leaders will be there.
I do hope you're going to give a little lecture on what the meaning of our government is. Are you going to speak to them?
I'm going to be part of that. Yes, sir.
Glenn Beck, Sarah Palin, and others, Restoring Honor. If you want more about this thing, you can log on to cbnnews.com and get a fuller understanding. But this is a chance for concerned citizens to get together in Washington on a Saturday, the end of this month. So, David, I appreciate you. God bless you.
Thanks, Pat. Thanks for all you do, brother.
Yes, sir.